get your match over, get your opponent over, and then you should get yourself over. And as long as you can do these three things, and you're safe, you live to fight another day. Welcome back to Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler. Me too. And today we're going to discuss the do's and don'ts of having a bad match. Whenever I have a bad match, I can kind of tell. It doesn't feel right. There's a little bit of choppiness. There's a little bit of stutter step. There's a lot of miscommunication, or even if it's just one big key moment that I felt like was my responsibility. Whenever I come back, the things that I always do are I always take a minute to myself. So once you kind of cooled off, you always want to go over and you want to thank your opponent, even if it was a bad match, even if it was the best match you've ever had. You always want to go thank you, because without them, you wouldn't have been able to go out there. And then I will check on their safety. I'll say, hey, did I tag you with something or anything like that? I don't make anything up, but I just want to make sure that they're safe and that they were happy with the safety of their match. Not with their performance or my performance, just with the safety. The safety is the number one important thing in professional wrestling. And you can have a bad match. That's fine. It's not really that big of a deal to have a bad match. A lot of people have had a lot of bad matches, but it matters if you can perform again tomorrow. Booker T taught me that, actually. No matter what, I always try to improve myself for next time. No match is perfect. There's matches where I'll bump my head, or I'll take one weird step, or I'll do one weird awkward thing, and my opponent may or may have not noticed that, or maybe they noticed something that I didn't notice. So once I know that I've had a bad match, I always look to the person themselves, my opponent, and ask them, was there anything I could have done better for you? When I ask them, is there anything I could do better for you next time? That's me genuinely caring about the performance of the match. The rule of the show goes, get your match over, get your opponent over, and then you should get yourself over. And as long as you can do these three things, and you're safe, you live to fight another day. So maybe they didn't say that anything was bad, or maybe they were just kind of upset about the match themselves. So one of the things that you want to do that night is, if you've asked someone to watch your match, which you should always ask someone to watch your match, because they'll see things from a fan's perspective, not necessarily from an in-ring perspective. You want to ask them. And if you didn't have someone to ask that night, and it is the way it is, you got to rewatch it. You should be rewatching all of your matches, but the ones that are bad especially. That's the ones where you can learn from it, and you can actually look at it, and you can judge yourself. And maybe you don't necessarily know what's good, but you'll be able to tell what's bad. It's a very nuanced thing, but you'll be able to tell what you did wrong, or you'll try to remember, hey, this was my spot. Hey, this is my fault. Hey, I should have communicated this better. So rewatch it. And sometimes it's really not as bad as you think it is. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it's really not as bad, and sometimes the audience wouldn't even notice. There are 7 matches on the card sometimes. One bad match isn't going to ruin their whole night. But sometimes you just don't gel, you don't have the experience, you're trying something new, the audience isn't feeling what you're doing, you miscued something, you had a miscommunication, your time got cut, so you had to reshuffle, which would lead to a lack of experience. There are a lot of different reasons why you felt like your match might have been better or worse than it was. So if we can take every single learning opportunity and apply it to our next match, you can't really say that you didn't learn anything. A do is to act professional. Act professionally. This is a place of business. The event, it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's at a bar. It doesn't matter if it's at an outside event. It doesn't matter if it's in a carnival. It doesn't matter if it's in a concert setting. This is a profession. This is a business. And if you do not act professionally, it makes you look bad. And if you look bad, it only reflects on you. No one wants to work with someone who's an unprofessional person. If you were lucky enough to have someone watch your match, you're going to want to try to explain yourself to them. You're going to say, well, I meant to do it like this. And if they ask you, that's okay. That's fine. But one thing that I learned was that it makes you seem uncoachable if you're trying to explain yourself without having been asked. They're taking the time out of their night, instead of putting their match together, instead of getting a drink, preparing, stretching. You have to say thank you. You appreciate the feedback, and whether you want to use it is not up to you to tell them today. It's up to you to take, and if you can put it in a journal, that's awesome. Use it in your little journal, but you do not want to seem uncoachable. So speaking of acting professionally, we're going to go into the do not section. Do not, not yes, no, do not do these things. Do not yell. Don't be an idiot. Do you really want everyone to know that you had a bad match and yell at someone else and come in and blame? Do not blame. Number 2, do not blame them. Do not blame your opponent. Do not blame the referee. There's something that you could have done 99% of the time where you could have made it right. You could have had a backup plan. You could have spoken more efficiently. You could have gotten into the arena earlier. You could have taken an extra minute before your match to make sure that everything was going to be okay with your opponent. If you were lucky enough to wrestle someone who's better than you, which is what you should want to be doing all the time, do not rush them for feedback. Let them take their time. Let them untie their boots. Let them put a shirt back on. Let them decompress, because when you get back, the first thing you do not want is someone in your face telling you, hey, is this okay? Is this okay? It's very overwhelming. You don't want to rush them for advice. You don't want the first thing that they have to deal with when they come back is your, oh my gosh, did I do good? Did I do good? Because usually when people ask for feedback, they're saying, how good did I do? Did you see my thing? It doesn't matter. They don't really care that much. Not right away. They just want to take a breath. They want to decompress. They want to get their energy from here to just a little bit lower, let their adrenaline settle in. Maybe they got tagged a little bit, and maybe they're frustrated with the bad match in and of itself. So you do not want to rush them for feedback. So the last thing you do not want to do is kind of a two-parter. You do not want to go back there and start bashing them. It's very unprofessional. You do not want to start, hey, did you see that new guy? He was really bad. And it makes you look unprofessional. This will lead into the second one. You do not want to go on social media and bash them. You do not want to go and say, I would have had a good match tonight if it weren't for this guy, or something like that. You do not want to go on there and bash them. It comes off as petty and super unprofessional, especially on social media where everything is forever. You'll make the post, you'll delete it an hour later because you got talked to, and it's on there for forever. And someone screenshotted it, and now you look unprofessional. This is very important not to do. Do not act unprofessionally. It's not worth it. It will ruin your career. 1 video a week is my promise. So if you guys are subscribed, appreciate it. If you guys have liked the videos, thank you. I look forward to meeting with you guys again next week. Hopefully the same day, hopefully the same time. I'm looking to keep a consistent Monday schedule. Monday. Alright, thank you guys for coming back to Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler. Me too. And today we discussed all the do's and do nots of having a bad match. The Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler, Me Too brand is going to be split up. Okay? It's not bad. It's good. Very good. So we're here on YouTube today. We're going to be doing tutorials. We're going to be doing how do I set up a pro wrestling tease. We're going to be doing the do's and don'ts of having a bad match. We're going to have heels versus babyface, how to be a good heel, how to be a good babyface. We're going to go through all these plethora of topics, but the Anchor, the Google Podcast, the Spotify, the podcast in and of itself of Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler Me Too is going to be strictly interviews.